Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the South Florida Tribune Podcast. My name is Scott Morgan, we're out the Motor City, Matt Ralph, along with my co-host,
Candy Eveling.
And the inventor or creator of Me Monday, and who is?
Lynn Lessell.
My goodness, I'll tell you. How about a curveball? No, folks, this isn't a baseball show, but Lynn had to take my best curveball out there. So anyways, Lynn, this is a pretty good special broadcast for you. Why don't you let the listeners go out there and clue them in as to why it is important to you?
Well, tonight's broadcast is especially special because it is the 1-year anniversary of Me Monday. And what's extra special about it is that a month ago, Me Monday became an officially registered trademark. And why is Me Monday important? Well, you know, it all started because after listening to many of my friends, colleagues, and business associates regularly express that they do not have time for themselves because all the things they have to do, I wanted to take a stand for everyone because I had finally converted my own have-to habit to a want-to lifestyle. I became number one on my to-do list, and everybody else can do the same thing. I'm not saying it's easy, by no means, but it is possible. And it all started with a first step. So my mission was to take that first step that I took and make it available to all at least once a week. So I decided I wanted to declare a holiday every week. One day, just one day that's on the calendar every week. So honestly, when you look at your calendar and you see a holiday coming up for an anniversary, a birthday, or any kind of special celebration, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Kids Day, Cousin's Day, Parents' Day, Nurses' Day, typically you celebrate it, right? There's Receptionist Day, there's Best Executive Assistant's Day, there's all kinds of days, and they all get celebrated, right?
Of course. We celebrate Ice Cream Day anytime chance we get.
Yeah, that's right. They got 365 holidays, and how many people out there looking at them as major holidays? What are they going to tell me? They got Hot Dog Day next or Coney Island Day? Go ahead.
Right, yeah. And they're all celebrating all of those days. But nobody ever celebrates a holiday that's specifically for themselves. So that was the importance of me actually investing in trademarking Me Monday, because I wanted to have a day on the calendar that everybody would actually celebrate and plan something special for themselves. No matter how small, no matter how much time, but it would be a day that they would look forward to. Now, we've talked about this before, and many people have said to me, why Monday? We talked about it originally. Why Monday? And Scott, you had said how many times Monday was like, too bad it's Monday, right?
My least favorite day of the week.
Yeah, too bad.
Until
TBIM. But okay, at least I know you registered. Some people listen to what I got to say. Too bad it's Monday. It's called TBIM.
Absolutely. Right? So the whole thing is, yeah, most people look at Monday as being the worst day of the week. So imagine if you could start to look forward to Monday. How can you spread that out into every other day of the week until you're really being self-responsible and taking care of yourself so you're the best you for everybody, right? So now it's official. Me Monday is a day once a week that is declared on the calendar for everybody to do something for themselves. I can't believe that this has been 1 year, and I'm really excited. And I hope if there are listeners out there that haven't been focusing on doing something special for themselves on Monday, that they start doing that as of today.
Let me point something out to you as well. The only time Monday really ever was one of your type of things was when I worked for a hurricane protection called Rhino Shield, and I got paid on that day. So to say I wasn't looking for my paycheck after a weekend, well, then it doesn't classify as TBM. Well, we could just say, do it. We could create another trademark, TGIM. Thank God it's Monday, but who knows how many people have gone out there and come up with that. So we'll use your Me Monday instead.
It's all good.
But if you ever do that, I get
now official.
If you ever do TGIM, then I expect to make sure that we share in the profits of that.
Okay, no worries about that at all.
Okay.
So that's what's going well for me today. What's going well for you guys today?
Well, I'll tell you what. Now that you've brought that up, tonight we I spent time creating a brand new identity for the broadcast side. WSAN Network stands for World Sports and News Network. That will provide us with a platform that will allow all of our shows to be on an allocated network. South Florida Tribune itself is the online publication, and this WSAN will be the broadcasting side. I think it'll definitely give us a platform to provide a national identity in terms of the local identity they have. So I'm working on a lot of those things, and I'll probably have a lot of them worked on over the week, during the week and into next week when we actually take a week off for the Memorial Day holiday. So I think that over the course of the next few weeks, we'll be launching a major social media campaign to let people know what we're doing. So I'm glad you brought that up. It was the perfect time to put it out there. So the social media campaign that I'm actually looking on will encompass Twitter, Facebook, to name a couple. Instagram maybe a little bit, but Twitter and Facebook will be the large ones, and perhaps on LinkedIn as well. So, but I'm glad you asked. That was a loaded question. I was glad to give you a loaded answer.
Okay, and Candy, what's going well for you today?
You know, I have to admit, and this is going to sound funny because it's not as big as anything either the two of you are, but so we joke around, you know, we all have smartphones, and some people program their smartphones to have different ringtones. Well, I did that, of course, for certain people that are real close to me, so I know exactly who's calling. I make sure then I can rush to the phone depending on who it is, and obviously sometimes you don't rush for some people. But one of my contacts happens to be my mother-in-law. And everybody's going to laugh because, no lie, and I've had this happen when I was with customers, when I was working, all of a sudden she'll call, and her ringtone is "Who let the dogs out?" Who let the dogs out? So it starts going off a couple minutes ago before the broadcast, and my husband laughs hysterically every time it comes on. She has a little dog. She loves the little dog, and it just brings a smile to everybody's face when we hear that ringtone. I mean, who doesn't laugh when they hear it? So just those little things, you know, hearing that ringtone put a smile on both of our faces. So that's what I would say today.
How original is that, Lynn?
Well, you know what? Actually, Candy, I really do appreciate you sharing that. Mm-hmm. And if it's okay with you, I'll share why.
Sure.
So when I ask a question, what's going well today, I love the fact that you were willing to share something small that was big to you.
Yep.
Because that's really the point about everything we talk about that revolves around Me Monday, mm-hmm. is that it doesn't have to be a big celebration. It doesn't have to be a monumental occurrence. It's all about what is individually positive to each of us. Because in the reality, it's accumulation of all those little things that really bring those smiles to our faces, that joy to our hearts, and that pleasure to our lives. And so you just shared something with me that as you were explaining it, I could actually envision the ringtone going off and the smile on your face and the warmth in your heart.
Well, that makes two of us with that ringtone. I
really do appreciate that.
That makes two of us with that ringtone. If that isn't original, then I don't know what that word original means.
I'm sorry, Scott?
That's original. I'll tell you what, that's a smile on two people's face, not just hers. I mean, that's original, let me tell you.
All right, so there you go. And that leads right into what I really wanted to talk about this evening. So it's about 2 months, almost since the beginning of March, that we've had this stay-at-home order. And so many of us have actually been working from home, but there have been a lot of us who have actually been home and not working. And there are a lot of us that are working parents that are homeschooling our kids while they're working. And then there are all the educators in the school systems that are actually working from home to educate those kids. And all the kids, for an indefinite amount of time, the way I see how it's going, are going to be educating online. And so that's a lot of big changes in what we're accustomed to. And so those little positive what's going well today can be super important. So I almost want to ask the listeners, what's your focus? Do you fear what's next? Are you brainstorming new ideas? Are you creating new habits that are now becoming new routine? Are you focused on living a healthy, happy lifestyle? So for me, I don't fear what's next. I actually welcome what's next, because I think that over the course of our lives, everything is always changing and something new is always up and coming. And so we've always had to evolve. So I'm kind of that creative mind. I'm artistic by nature, so I'm always brainstorming new ideas and creating new habits. And Lord only knows, since I'm about 27, I've been focusing on the best way I could live a healthy, happy lifestyle. But that doesn't mean everybody's doing the same thing. So I'm curious, with either one of you, what's your focus right now in all of this?
Well, I'm going to take the pandemic and come up with more ideas like I came with today. I mean, how much more focused can I be to turn the switch on and all of a sudden you create a new concept, really? Caffeine is
awesome.
My fuel.
See,
my
I love
goodness.
it. That's positive energy.
Well, that's high energy, positive energy, however you want to call it. Caffeine is my gasoline, okay?
Okay, but you know what? Caffeine can lead people in the upward motion, or they can lead them in the downward motion. Guess what? I think you have upward motion, and you're going forward, and I congratulate you for that.
God only knows if I'm going backward, there's something really wrong. No, I'm kidding with you.
What about you, Candy?
I'd say one of the things, and then we don't necessarily do it on a weekly basis, but I think coming out of this pandemic, for some reason, maybe because everybody or a lot of people that are working from home are doing these Zoom calls, that my family has actually done Zoom calls together. And so my sister who lives in Tennessee, and my other sister, and my dad and brother who all live in Wisconsin, and then us who live in Florida, we didn't used to do video calls or Zoom calls or anything like that. And I think all of us doing calls together, whether it be every week or every 2 weeks, it just it allows you to see people and allows you to see the expression on their face when you're talking, as opposed to just a phone call. And I think it's just a wonderful thing, and I think it's a tradition that will keep going forward. I don't know how often we'll do it, but we'll do it more often than we weren't, because we weren't doing it before at all. So I think that's one thing that I look forward to, and it's kind of a new tradition.
I think that's great. So you're not only coming up with new ideas, but you're creating new habits, which is really giving you a lot of happiness. That's awesome.
Yep. How about you?
I really applaud
Then
you
what
for
else
that.
what are you doing new?
Well, what am I doing new? That's kind of an interesting question for me. Like I said, I'm coming up with just new ideas and new ways to really get this message out, because here's the interesting concept. Me Monday is actually the initial step to something much greater. And we haven't really talked about this before. But my expertise, my talent, if you will, this natural talent that I apparently seem to have, that I share with other professionals, is helping them discover their secret identity in order to be able to find that person that's somehow hiding deep down inside, so that when they're in different situations, they're not being the person everybody else expects them to be. They're being the person they expect themselves to be. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that are so caught up in what they have to do and how little time they have, that they're not putting themselves first. And so we all end up getting into this robotic kind of circumstance, and all this networking that we're doing, we feel like we're coming out of it with no success. And that's the thing that I'm helping many professionals with. But the Me Monday is the first step, Because if you could take that day that's perceived as the worst day of the week to do a little something special for yourself, even if it's just planning 15 minutes, whatever that 15 minutes means, that's the first step to evolving through the rest. And I actually have a secret formula to, we'll say, quote unquote, elevate your elevator pitch. And it's been very successful with a lot of different professionals. And so it was important for me to start with the Me Monday, because if people can't get past that part, it's hard to get to the rest.
I agree.
And so it's been very, very successful. I've had the pleasure of seeing people that I work with actually evolve and become such strong entities within themselves, and now market themselves, network themselves, build authentic relationships, whether it's just with friends or it's with business professionals, and just they're in a whole confident, positive authenticness. And it's so incredible to be able to see. I had one of my clients actually say to me, I haven't discovered my secret identity yet, but I'm on the way to discovering the best version of myself. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll just say this much.
There's nothing that's a bigger reward than that.
I'll say this much. Networking is all well and good, okay? And you're right. You have to do an awful lot of different things until you find what works. So, again, we both have met one another through networking. But, again, there's only so much you can do until you have to get creative in your thinking, so you're on point. So anyway.
And that's right. And you know what? So whether you're fearful of what's next or you think creatively, the question is, what might be one small thing that's new that you can do in a creative way to take a step forward? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, in my opinion,
that's what we're all doing every day.
Yeah, there's only one word that describes what I'm thinking: industrious.
There you go. I love it. Industrious. So, it's funny because, well, seeing as how you have a whole bunch of sports shows, I managed to come up with a quote from a professional baseball player, Roberto Clemente. And I loved this quote because he said, anytime that you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you're wasting your time on this earth. And that was so profound to me because, Scott, as you know well, every time we get together, we're spending hours brainstorming new creative ways of doing things. And I know you and I couldn't imagine wasting one moment of time.
Right.
So the fact that he said this, it kind of leads me to feel like maybe he's met people who maybe aren't taking that opportunity to really make a difference. And now, at this point in time with everything going on, this is the best opportunity, the best time to take advantage of opportunity, to make little changes and do positive things. I remember it was a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Paralympic bronze medalist, Amy Purdy.
Right.
And her question when everything went crazy in her life at age 19, and her life was completely altered for the rest of her life. And her question was, if your life was a book, how would you want it to end? Well, I want to ask another question. If your life was a book, how would you want the story to be written?
Right.
So life doesn't throw us things that we expect, and we are constantly in a changing mode, and we may not always handle it correctly. It's funny because in our area in South Florida, many businesses are starting to open, and we realize that as we go back into these businesses, things aren't going to be exactly the way we were before because there's still restrictions on those things. Now, if we focus on brainstorming and being creative and coming up with new ideas, can this be an opportunity for each of us to have an impact on our future, like Roberto Clemente suggests in his quote? What do you think?
Well, no question about it. You got to brainstorm. You got to be
So
creative. Hold on.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, you got to brainstorm. You got to be creative, or you're in trouble. That's all there is to it. I live and die by that particular philosophy. So what Roberto Clemente says makes a whole lot of sense. But no, I'm with you.
Yeah. So what's a better day to start than today? If you haven't started already, taking that opportunity to think of one new creative thing that you can do to have an impact on. It's on the world's future. It's all of us, because every little thing we do, we contribute to people around us, right? So it's Me Monday. It's the anniversary. So let's celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Me Monday. And I hope our listeners are going to come up with one small way that they can come up with a creative idea this evening with us and implement it tomorrow.
Sounds like a good
Wouldn't that
plan.
be a great thing?
Yep. Just so you know, everybody, you are listening to the South Florida Tribune podcast on the WSAN network. My name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Man Mouth, along with Lynn Lessell and Candy Ebling. Glad to have you with us tonight. I know one thing about Lynn, what she does is provides a different aspect of how things are interpreted on the first day of the week. So, Me Monday, I don't know what people look for. They look for Monday Night Football, Monday Night Baseball. We got to somehow brand Lynn into that, although who knows how long it'll take for us to get to that way and have to compare them up to iconic shows. But your concept is definitely iconic in its own way. So,
I think Me Monday is so important because I think, like you said, Lynn, people get lost in doing things for everybody else, that they forget about themselves. And if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to end up taking care of anybody else?
Right. So
yeah, well, I had that for many years. I called it many hat syndrome. So if any of our listeners have any questions or want to learn a little bit more about that, they can certainly contact me. And the South Florida Tribune hosts all of my contact information, so they can definitely find it there.
No question about it. You write a great column every Monday. It'll appear on www.southfloridatribune.com. Lynn Lessell, just look for under contributors writings.
Additional contributors, Me Mondays by Lynn Lessell.
Contributors writings under Lynn Lessell, and she does a marvelous job putting together concepts that most people wouldn't think of. So, any closing thoughts before we do some company stuff, Lynn?
No, I'm good. I think I've expressed everything I can possibly express this evening, and I really appreciate all the shares that you both made with me today, and I'm going to hand off to you.
All right. Well, so do you want to ask the audience about 1 to 3 new small ways that you can start making a difference in this world? I know you have some ideas. Go ahead and elaborate on that.
Yeah. Actually, I would really appreciate if the listeners would email in any topic requests that they'd like me to write about and talk about on the podcast. And if they have even a thought, it's just any 1 to 3. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be 2. It could be 1. Just a small way that they believe that they can start to make a difference, and write it in, and we'll talk about it on our next show.
Absolutely.
And they can either contact the South Florida Tribune at gmail.com, or they can contact Lynn at itswhy.com.
Right.
Either way, it'll get to the show.
I know you're closing. I know you always like to close under what's one new thing that can you do tomorrow that will make you smile. So since you like to put it out there, I'm going to go ahead and be the interviewer and let you lead off, and then Candy can go ahead and answer it, and I'll go ahead and proceed. All right, Lynn, since you brought up Roberto Clemente in the broadcast, okay, I'll let you lead off with that particular comment.
So, you know what? One thing that I'm going to do tomorrow is I have a call with a fellow coach to strategize about some new ideas. And whenever we get together, we have a lot of laughs. We usually do a Zoom call so we could see each other. And she's all the way up in New York. I'm down here in Florida. And we just share what's going on. And I'll tell you, Scott, honestly, a lot of times we're talking about our new puppy. So we're back to pets again. But I think that just sharing at least one small idea, and that's typically what I'll be doing tomorrow, is I'll be sharing some ideas to be helpful. It's all about being generous right now and giving back, and that's what I plan to do.
All right, Candy, you're next.
Well, for those of you that don't know, I work in a bank, and a bank is an essential employee, and so we've been working this whole time. Our drive-thru's open. We're helping customers. We're helping customers on the phone. I think one thing that I'm going to do tomorrow is tomorrow morning I'm going to be at the door greeting all of my employees with a high five, good morning, and I'm going to say a thank you for all that they do. That they, they've been there every day. I haven't had anyone call out sick, and just, a heartfelt thank you to all the employees. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work like you wouldn't believe to try to go out there and put the WSAN network on social media so we can get it out for everybody to realize that we are making a major change. Once again, I repeat, the South Florida Tribune is an online publication. WSAN will be our new branch to the broadcasting side, and I'm very confident that what we're able to do is bring an identity that we feel is a long-term identity that will benefit every single broadcast on this network. So with that said, let me go ahead and give you some quick contact information. If you want to follow us here, you can follow me on Twitter at Scoop, SCOOP, 33333. That's if you can count to 5, then you count to 3s. You can also follow us at Tribune South. On Facebook, like us on South Florida Tribune. On Instagram, follow us on South Florida Tribune. I do have a YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. And, of course, the website, which I just mentioned, for which you can see Lynn Lessell's artistic writing, www.southfloridatribune.com. The email is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And, of course, you can also find me on LinkedIn as well under Scott Morganroth. Just so you know, the shows that we have on WSAN Network include the Sports Exchange, the South Florida Tribune podcast, for which you are listening to. Sports Exchange will be next. Myself and David Levin and Mark Luttel will be our guest tonight. 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, The Real and the Rare with Xavier McKnight, Fantasy Football with Ryan Skorud and myself, a Motorman and Rude Dog. And just in case you want to know where these broadcasts are distributed, they're distributed through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, our iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Podcast Addict, Deezer, and Podchaser. If you can count to 9, which I know you all can, that's how many we have, and we're looking to build on that. So on behalf of Lynn Lessell, Candy Ebling, my name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Madmouth, wishing everybody to be safe, practice social distancing, stay home, and kudos to our first responders. And we hope what we've done over the last half hour or so is to make sure that you have a viable alternative with some quality entertainment. So meanwhile, our next broadcast with me Monday will be on June the 8th, Monday. So put that on your calendar, and Lynn Lessell will have some good stuff, and I'm looking forward to talking about it then. So once again, good night, everybody, and thanks for joining us on the South Florida Tribune podcast. Candy, anything you want to add?
I just want to wish everybody a very happy and safe Memorial Day, since that's next week, Monday.
All right, I'll second that. And Lynn, I suppose you're going to third that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening.
Good night.